Neil McCabe on the line with us, political director with Gravis Insights, a Florida-based pollster and columnist for townhall.com, gravisinsights.com, the website. Neil, welcome back.
Glad to be with you, Tom. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th to you, too, and to you and yours. Okay, I got this tweet from Donald Trump that says...
Of course you did.
That says, hashtag Jeb Bush has to like the Mexican illegals because of his wife. What's going on in the Republican Party?
Well, I think we're sort of in the shakedown cruise phase. I remember when I was in the Coast Guard, every time before we went on one of our drug patrols, we would have what we called a fast cruise, where we would just sort of go out for one day and just sort of make sure everybody was in the right place, everybody could find their lifeboat, and just do sort of a walkthrough before we actually, got underway for the real patrols. And I think we're sort of in that fast cruise or walkthrough phase right now. What are there, 20 candidates for the Republican nomination?
No, I think you're at 14 right now, if my memory serves me.
Announced, but there's some still in the wings. In fact, I don't think Scott Walker officially announced yet.
No, he's doing that this week or next, I think.
Right, and so you have a guy who's consistently number 2, 3, and 1 in the polls, and he hasn't even made his announcement yet.
But my point is that Donald Trump is actively reaching out to racists in the Republican base.
I don't know. I think that
he absolutely is. I mean, come on. And Ted Cruz comes along and says, "I salute Donald Trump." And it's... I
think what's happening, Tom, is that Donald Trump is in touch with what's going on the border states with Mexico in a way that sort of the Northeast elite is not.
But it's not what's going on. I mean, other than these kids fleeing violence that is the consequence of Reagan policies back in the 80s down in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. Other than that, with regard to Mexicans, the immigration into the United States for the last couple of years, at least since 2008, since the Bush recession, has been going backwards. I mean, we're not gaining people.
So you're saying Mexicans are escaping the United States into Mexico?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at the statistics.
I think that maybe if Trump is guilty of something, he's generalizing and calling all Latin American immigration Mexicans, and I think that that's maybe a poor term of art. But certainly, what's going on down there is tragic and scary. Yeah. People are legitimately scared for their families. It's like, talk to those ranchers about the coyotes herding those illegals through their ranches at night. Look at the crime wave that's been unleashed by these illegals, and Donald Trump is speaking to real problems. It's resonating.
The two towns that have the lowest crime rate in the United States are San Diego and I'm forgetting, was it El Paso? There's basically on the Mexican border, and it's not a crime wave. I mean, there is a crime wave going on in northern Mexico. I don't disagree that this is a problem.
Let me make this point about El Paso specifically, because I know something about El Paso, because I know a number of people who are stationed at Fort Bliss, which is right outside of El Paso. The fact of the matter is that the drug lords and their lieutenants all live in El Paso on the American side. And so, yeah, El Paso might be safe in the way that, say, a mafia neighborhood is safe, and that a grandmother can walk through the streets of a mafia neighborhood at 2 in the morning and not worry about anything. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a crime problem.
Yeah. We're not going to solve the immigration crisis in this conversation, I don't think, Neil. The other thing, though, that Donald Trump is talking about that I find fascinating is that he's saying all of our trade deals were stupid. He's taking a Ross Perot kind of position.
Very much so.
And I think that will get him a lot of votes right across the board. On the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders is saying the same thing. And B, I think that in particular is going to make him harder to dislodge, because as far as I can tell, none of the other Republican candidates wants to do anything about these pro-corporate, corporate dominance of the U.S. kind of so-called free trade deals.
First of all, let me just say two things about Donald Trump. Number one, he's sort of our version of Boris Johnson. He plays the buffoon, And for a lot of people, it's disconcerting and flummoxing.
Who's Boris Johnson?
Boris Johnson is the mayor of London, who basically is regarded as
an
idiot
Boris.
in London. But he,
yeah, Boris. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. He's regarded as an idiot, but he may end up being Prime Minister of England in 5 years.
Yeah.
And so Trump is playing on a different, or is broadcasting on a different frequency, which is why the elites don't get it. But as for the trade deals, yeah, I mean, Trump is calling out a lot of things that he's just calling it stupid. I mean, Ross Perot was plugging into what I call the Caesar impulse, like the idea that a strong man can come in and just fix things. And that's exactly what Ross Perot, if Ross Perot was elected president and he announced that he was suspending Congress, the American people would have said, okay, Ross, just fix it. I mean, that's the Caesar impulse. And Trump is playing into that, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I don't think it's that simple. I think that he's, because presidents do negotiate these treaties.
Well,
and presidents can unnegotiate treaties.
It's an interesting thing because so much has been done in the last 6 years in the age of Obama by executive action.
Nothing compared to Reagan. I mean, when Reagan came into office, my understanding, and I may have the details wrong on this, but that Heritage, or one of the groups here in town, prepared a giant binder with 3,000, a punch list of 3,000 things they wanted to get done, and by the end of 8 years, Reagan had accomplished 2,000 of them.
Well, I think that sort of plays to my point. So let's just say that a lot has been done by executive action because Obama and the Congress have not been able to work together. And so what happens is if everything's done by the stroke of the president's pen, it can be undone by the stroke of the president's pen. And so this is the situation that the next president can basically undo everything without Congress being involved. And I think that's kind of scary. If you look at the growth of the executive branch, not only do they sort of have taken over legislative or lawmaking functions, but they also have their own administrative court system with judges. And so you've basically recreated our three branches of government inside the executive branch to the exclusion of the two others. And whoever's president is going to have extraordinary powers.
And on top of that, we now see, Scott Walker and the Republicans in Wisconsin want to do away with public records, with the ability of the public to see the legislative process as it goes on. And, it's like, yeah, I'm a President Walker would be a truly scary thing.
Well, I mean, Walker has a lot going for him.
Yeah, he's got the Koch brothers with $800 million.
Well, I mean, Scott Walker has done remarkable things in Wisconsin. And the fact that
he's devastated the state.
He has won elections in
They're like
Wisconsin.
48th in job creation in the country.
Well, Tom, you and I are old enough to remember when Wisconsin was considered a liberal hold. How is it that a Scott Walker was not only elected, reelected, and survived a recall?
It was with out-of-state money. It's real simple, Neil.
I mean, they ran a moderate, relatively conservative Democrat against him, and
and that's the mistake of the Democratic Party is ever running a conservative Democrat. They should have been, particularly in Wisconsin, they should have run a Bernie Sanders style liberal. And,
I think that
the fact of the matter is that you had millions, probably certainly tens of millions, possibly hundreds of millions of dollars of money, mostly coming from the Koch brothers.
A lot of outside money going against Walker. And
I don't see it.
Live.
I don't see it. Anyhow, Neil McCabe, GravisInsights.com. Thanks, Neil.
Great to be with you, Tom.
Good talking with you.